It's always nice to have more devotees in the kīrtan, more devotees discussing philosophy, more devotees sharing prasadam, so on and so forth. It's not just because we like crowds. Actually, we don't. And you'll find among devotees, it's a funny thing. They like to associate together, but they also really like their alone time. Like in the morning. The morning, we all get up more or less independently, and we do our chanting and any other things that we need to do, in personal time. And we don't come together until about noon, really, for cooking, and then we take prasadam. And after that, there's some service, whatever the work is for the day, we'll get that done, and then finally we come together for darshan. That's really the main time that we spend together is in darshan. And then we take prasadam again, a little snack, and then it's off to our little cabins or our little rooms or wherever we stay. And again, we spend some time alone. And this time alone is very valuable. I wouldn't want to be forced to be around people, even other devotees, all the time, There's some people who can't stand to be alone. They always have to be involved in some kind of social chit-chat and all this stuff. But a devotee feels pleasure in being alone because actually he's never alone. He's always with Kṛṣṇa, within himself, within his heart, through his devotional love and service. He's always feeling the presence of his guru and the whole chain of disciplic succession because he's following their instructions. See, so we like to relish that association where it's so-called alone. And then we associate with the other devotees and we relish that association too. But both are important. It's like breathing in and breathing out. If you didn't have enough alone time, you wouldn't relish the time you spend associating. And vice versa. If you didn't have some association, the alone time might become a little too much. Although, I don't know. I can't have enough alone time. I really relish my alone time. So what's going on there?
It's okay.
Just a chat?
No, it's an email.
Okay. So is that cleared up?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we can go on to chapter 19 of the Nectar of Devotion by Srila Rupa Goswami, translated by Srila Prabhupada. Devotional service in pure love of God. This just keeps getting better and better, It starts out in the beginning talking about the very beginning of devotional service, one's qualification for becoming a devotee, and the very first results, the very basic beginning results that one gets from pure devotional service. The first result that one gets from pure devotional service is the complete cessation of material miseries. Complete. We're not talking about mixed devotional service, and we're not talking about offensive devotional service. We're talking about pure devotional service. Pure devotional service is the point at which one is no longer falling down into material consciousness. And at that point, that means the end of all material miseries. Like we were saying, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering is an attitude. Pain is going to come, just like the winter and summer seasons. Right now it's winter, it's cold. But we still have darshan every night. We still get up early in the morning, chant. We still do all the things that we normally do. We don't stop just because it's winter. Similarly, when it's summer and it's really, really hot, we'll still be here. We probably won't have so many clothes on, but we'll be here doing the same old thing. So try to understand. A devotee achieves a transcendental platform of consciousness beyond the changes, the ups and downs of this material world. So even though the body is still going through its typical changes, the devotee is removed from that, abstracted from that. See, not attached to the body anymore, not identified with the body anymore. And we had a big discussion about that the other day, about identification and projection of consciousness. And this is the split. This is the source of the pain that everybody feels. See, there's this, no matter how much sense gratification you get, no matter how many material possessions or how much money or power or fame or beauty or knowledge or whatever material stuff that you get, it doesn't ever resolve this deep down pain, does it? And where is that pain coming from? It's coming from our consciousness, because our consciousness is divided. Our consciousness is divided between our real self and our phony self. Our phony self is the material things upon which we have projected our identity and think that's me. Like this material body, for example. Most people think their body is themselves. And so whenever anything happens to the body, they feel it like it's happening to them. But a person who knows the truth, a person who's self-realized, doesn't feel that way about his body. The body is just a place where we live temporarily. And when the body gets worn out, we're going to have to go get another one or whatever. So we don't identify with the body. The body is a tool, it's a vehicle, it's a covering, it's a dress. Just like this sweatshirt, this hoodie. And when it's hot, I can take the hood off. It's convertible. And then when it's cold, I can put the hood on. So when I need a material body to do my service, then I can take up the material body. And when I don't need the material body, it can just sit there. It doesn't have to do anything. See? And I can go off and I can engage in service in my spiritual body. The real self, the real identity, the eternal self. So people are suffering because they split their identity between their real self, their spiritual body, their spiritual identity, and some material identification. Like, I am this body, I am this family, I am this house, I am this business, I am this possessions, I am this stuff, and material designations. Like, I am David Bruce Hughes, I am a guru, I am an American, I am this, I'm that, I'm old, I'm young, I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm male, I'm female, I'm blah, 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 on and on and on it goes. When does it ever end? So Kṛṣṇa says in Bhagavad-gītā that only someone who has unified consciousness can be on this path. And others whose consciousness is divided among different aims, they can never understand this. They can never attain self-realization because their consciousness is divided. Even Jesus said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. What do you think he was talking about? Politics? But they don't talk about that much on Sunday down at the church. They talk about how you can get a new Mercedes just by asking God. Well, that's nice. But if you become identified with your Mercedes and then you wreck it, what then? You're suffering. If you become identified with your body and it gets old, well, then you're suffering. If you become identified with your kids and something happens with your kids, or something always happens with kids, then you're suffering. You're upset. You see? The more you identify with different material things, the more you will suffer. And the more you identify only with your actual spiritual self, the less you'll suffer. So, the gateway to a complete cessation of suffering is complete Identification with one's real self, the spirit soul, the consciousness. Pure consciousness. That's the beginning. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochiti na kankshati. When one is in this state of pure spiritual consciousness, he neither laments nor desires to have anything, Krishna says. So we should attain this state. We can attain it very easily by this chanting process. So, I got off on a big rant, huh? Oh well. So now we're going to talk about devotional service in pure love of God. This is a very advanced stage. When one's desire to love Kṛṣṇa in one's particular relationship becomes intensified, this is known as pure love of Godhead. In the beginning, a devotee is engaged in the regulative principles of devotional service by the order of his spiritual master. When one thereby